Now back to Inside West Virginia Politics with Mark Curtis.
And welcome back to Inside West Virginia Politics. Let's continue our discussion of the legislative session. We are joined now by Senator Roman Prezioso, Democrat of Marion County, who is the minority leader in the state Senate. Great to have you on the program.
It's a pleasure to be here, Mark.
We talked to Senator Tarr, who's now the acting chair of finance, vice chair, about the business inventory tax, which the Republicans are very much in favor of repealing. Your thoughts on that, whether it should be repealed or not, and why?
It should be repealed with caution. That's not a new concept. When I was chair of the Finance Committee, that was one of the #1 issues that we tossed around. Unfortunately, we were in a declining economy, just as we are now, and we couldn't find the money to supplement the counties and the boards of education to make them whole. My theory is that it's very attractive to eliminate that tax, to bring businesses in. It is a hindrance to business, there's no question about it, but you can't do it at the sake of not being able to fully fund boards of educations and counties. And I think that's the problem that we're going to have now. If we pass a bill with just saying that we're going to eliminate it with no funding mechanism, we may be in trouble, because all the economic indicators right now are telling us that West Virginia is going into a declining economy. We see no growth in the next year as far as the economists out there, what they're telling us.
I know we've talked to the folks at the Senate, the West Virginia Senator for Budget and Policy, and it's their estimate, looking at the numbers, that we're about to go into a $170 million deficit. So I guess the question becomes, if the business inventory tax goes away, are there other sources where that money could come from to replace it that you're talking about?
It's very hard when you're putting a budget together, and I think the governor sort of alluded to it in his State of the State, that we're not getting the revenues we have been getting as far as severance taxes. And when you look at the severance tax line item, you also have to look at the sales tax and the personal income tax, because it's all relative. So once you see that decline, it's going to be very difficult to put this budget together with all the initiatives the governor put before us at the State of the State.
Let's talk about the State of the State, because one of the things the governor talked about is there's a surplus $308 million surplus Medicaid monies. He wants to take $150 million of that and basically, I think, put it in a Medicaid trust fund. So maybe a rainy day fund would be a better phrase. So if times get bad, there's still money out there for people who need Medicaid health care.
There's always a need for individuals on Medicaid, with the IDD waiver, the waiting list that's there. There are also some other programs that could be, fully funded. I'd caution in starting another rainy day fund. I think it's incumbent upon DHHR to come to us, give us a realistic roadmap of the needs that they have, and it's incumbent upon the legislature to fund it. I sort of don't understand how this is going to work. If we put together a rainy day fund, the governor's going to have an opportunity to maybe say, well, we have this need now. We're not in session. We're only in session 2 months a year. How many special sessions are we going to have? Some of the things that are proposed are problematic. When you have a problem out there, you don't want to create additional problems. It's incumbent, I think, upon DHHR to give us that information.
Well, and we're talking about DHHR. Let's talk about the issue of foster care, because they want more money for foster care. There's talk of giving raises just to the CPS, the Child Protective Service workers, but not any other workers in the state. I mean, is the money there to fix the foster care system?
You're going to have to look at the budget again. I mean, realistically look at the amount of money you're bringing in. It's not hard to conceive that there's going to be X amount of money in this fiscal year. We're 33 million behind now. Now, the indicator is going to be in the next couple of months. We're going to see where that revenues are coming in, or if they're declining, and we're going to have a better picture. It's been estimated we're going to be behind at least about $100 million at the end of this fiscal year. Not bad, but not good. But that's only a conservative estimate. We could be as much as probably $200 million behind.
All right, well, we're going to keep an eye on it. The old saying in politics is follow the money and see if there is enough money. We want to thank Senator Roman Prezioso, the minority leader in the state Senate, for joining us today. Good to see you, my friend. We got a lot to do in the next 50-plus days.
We have a lot of work to do. Thank you, Mark.
More of Inside West Virginia Politics after this break.